Welcome to Ghost Diary, where every story is drawn from the shadows between memory and nightmare. Tonight's entry is The Cry from the Basement. It's a story of a family and the sound that reminded them they were never alone. The Miller family moved into their new home in Ohio in the spring of 1998. It was a modest two-story house on Maple Street, bright, quiet, and seemingly perfect for their growing family. Tom, the father, worked long hours while Sarah stayed home with their newborn, Emily. For the first few weeks, everything felt peaceful, perfectly normal. But that sense of calm was about to be shattered. One night, Sarah was jolted awake by the unmistakable sound of a baby crying. She instinctively looked at the baby monitor on her nightstand, but all she saw was static. Puzzled, she tiptoed to Emily's room. Her own daughter was sleeping soundly, a picture of innocence in her crib, but the crying didn't stop. It was faint, muffled, and it seemed to be coming from below, from the basement. The next morning, Sarah told Tom what she'd heard. He tried to rationalize it, as anyone would. Old houses make strange noises, he said, trying to soothe her. He suggested it could be the pipes, the wind whistling through a crack, or maybe even the baby monitor picking up a stray signal from a neighbor's device. It was a logical explanation, but Sarah couldn't shake the unsettling feeling. The sound had felt too real, too close, and her fear was confirmed when it happened again the next night, and the night after that, every single night, like clockwork, at exactly 17 a.m., the sound of a baby crying would drift up from beneath the floor. After a week of sleepless nights and growing dread, Sarah's anxiety finally convinced Tom. He agreed to go down and investigate, more to placate his wife than anything else. He grabbed a heavy flashlight and, just in case, an old wooden baseball bat from the hall closet. He felt a little foolish, but a knot of fear was tightening in his stomach as he opened the basement door. A wave of cold, damp air hit him. He flicked on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the oppressive darkness as he slowly descended the creaking wooden stairs. Each step echoed in the silence. The basement was exactly as they left it, cold, musty, and mostly empty. Concrete walls surrounded him. An old furnace stood silent in the corner, and a few dusty boxes left by the previous owners were stacked against the far wall. He stood perfectly still, listening. There was only silence, broken by the slow, rhythmic drip of water from an old pipe somewhere in the darkness. He was just about to turn and head back upstairs, ready to tell Sarah it was nothing, when the cry began again. This time, it was unmistakably close, as if it was right behind him. He spun around, the bat held tight in his hands. The flashlight beam flickered violently, casting dancing, distorted shadows across the damp concrete. The crying grew louder, more desperate, echoing off the bare walls surrounding him. It felt as if something was buried right there, in the cold earth beneath his feet, calling out in agony. And then, as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The silence that followed was even more terrifying. Tom scrambled back up the stairs, his heart pounding in his chest, and slammed the basement door shut. He didn't say a word to Sarah, but she saw the look on his face. He knew. The next morning, Sarah found Tom sitting in the kitchen, staring at the basement door with a pale, haunted expression. He hadn't slept a wink. He couldn't get the sound out of his head. Later that afternoon, he decided he had to know more. He found the landlord's number and called the old man, Mert Jenkins. Tom tried to sound casual at first, asking about the house's history. Then, he mentioned the crying. There was a long, heavy pause on the other end of the line. When Mr. Jenkins finally spoke, his voice was soft, heavy with sadness. "I thought that was over by now," he said. He then told them the house's tragic secret. Years before, a young couple had lived there. They'd had a baby, a little girl, who tragically died from pneumonia one winter. The mother was consumed by grief and refused to leave the house after she eventually passed away. Neighbors started whispering. They said they could still hear the baby crying every night, a sorrowful echo coming from the basement. Tom had never believed in ghosts. He was a practical man, but he couldn't deny what he had heard. That night, armed with a roll of heavy-duty duct tape, he sealed the basement vent in their bedroom. And just like that, the crying stopped for a little while. 2 months later, the Millers sold the house on Maple Street and moved away, desperate to leave the memory behind. The new owners, a young couple just like them, never reported hearing a baby cry, but a year later, when they decided to renovate the basement, they made a chilling discovery. While tearing up the old floorboards to lay a new foundation, their tools hit something solid, Buried in the cold dirt beneath the floor, they found a small, broken wooden crib. Some say that grief is so powerful it can keep the living awake at night. Others believe it's strong enough to keep the dead from ever finding their sleep. Thank you for listening to this entry of Ghost Diary, where every story is written in the dark and every whisper you hear might just be true. Ghost Diary, where every page tells a true fear.